We are here, Bank of California Stadium. It's fantastic to be back. First preseason game just ended. LAFC 1, New England Revolution 1. We'll get into all the details. I'll do the introductions very quick. Vince LaRosa, Max Bretos. Hey, how do you feel about being back here?
Incredible.
With people.
Incredible. There was people here. There was
about 3,000 fans.
Actual soccer played. That's all I kept saying to people upstairs was, oh my God, we're going to do the soccer, and then we can actually talk about it so I can stop talking about transfers for 5 seconds.
Or Tom Brady, for that matter.
I never
retired, unretired. That's obviously the big
story. He'll be back. You know what he's doing? He just doesn't want to play in the regular season.
He's doing Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. That's what he's doing. And I applaud him for it because it's very cool. But we're not here to talk about Tom Brady. We know a lot of the folks couldn't be here, so we're going to be your eyes and ears to what we saw. We'll go through some big topics, some more specific ones. A reminder that as we start things off and the first impressions that we'll have about this game, it was preseason. I know you talked about it when we got here. We're all pumped up. It's a game. It's a game. Then you see it, and it doesn't look the same, obviously. It's the first game. Everyone's trying to get into a rhythm. Everyone. Us, the players.
Wait, you want to talk about
everyone. The scorekeeper put up a 3-zip when the first goal came down. We're all working out. The referee, which we'll get to as well.
The referee we will get to. But I want to just this because we probably won't talk about this much. But talk about everyone being in preseason. So LAFC scores a goal. We are sitting here in the southwest corner. As you can see behind us, there is nobody here. There's been nobody in these seats. When they scored the goal, the red shirts, the security guards, got into formation, and they're practicing. They're practicing. So you love to see it.
You got to practice like it is the real deal. So 1-1, New England scored a goal by Adam Buxa in the first half. I do want to talk that Adam Buxa did not have sleeves on his shirt, which was driving me bananas.
It was driving you bananas.
And then he scored. So
you took off your Max took off his jacket to show me that he has better biceps than Adam Buxa.
What do you think? Was it close?
Close.
No, it's not.
Close, which is not good because that's a professional athlete and you're you.
So that's very true.
Wait, will you let everyone know that they can send us questions that we will answer?
Of course. Send us questions. And look, send them now.
Yes.
Because what happened last time we did this, you started sending questions at the end and we tried to rush. We couldn't get to all the questions. Send them now. If you had a question about the game, we can answer her. Because we sat here. I had my crack notes.
Told you. 4 or 5 pieces of loose printer paper and chicken scratch.
And then I got my 110 football card with some more notes as well. And we'll get to it. So if you have any questions about how someone played, we'll be specific. Let's get into that as well. Do want to mention the goal scorer for LAFC. Bruce El Mesmari picked up the penalty. He came on in the second half. There's a lot of trialists in here trying to hang on with the team, and a couple of them did impress in the second half. Mamadou Fall took the penalty late in the game, and it was 1-1.
Yeah.
Fair result. We needed a goal. The fans needed to practice cheering a goal.
Well, and they did. There was beer showers, slightly muted celebration from Mamadou, which it's preseason. Don't go too crazy. You know, when Buxa scored, raised up his arms in front of the north end, and Chicho Arango ran straight to Buxa and gave him some peace of mind. Like, hey, man, it's preseason, but this is our house. And I like that.
Starting 11 completely changed. I believe we had like 25, 26 players.
Yes. Full line change at halftime.
Full line change. 11 players completely. Oh, except for Mamadou Fall, who came in because we have to mention Jesus Murillo got a straight red card for a handball, which we will discuss here. We'll discuss it right now.
Let's talk about it.
We're just giving you the specifics. Look, we mentioned everyone is in preseason mode and they're trying to get it. And it seems counterproductive to have a red card in a friendly like this. There is a rule in place, which I want to say, and the wording of it is the team has an option to bring in an 11th player in a preseason game. I don't see why you wouldn't take that option. You want to duplicate 11 versus 11. Maybe you do want to practice with 10 men, but obviously this first preseason game.
Well, it was the wording was that the opponents have that. Was it
the opponent?
The opponent. So New England has the option, but to your point, it doesn't do them any good in this very first preseason game to play 10 on 11. So they allowed them to bring someone in. But let's talk about the referee red carding the guy in the first place. Could we ever even get to that rule?
Murillo, he came across. He was kind of trying to play the ball. It kind of rolled on his arm. It was a handball.
It took a funky bounce.
Straight red. I believe, we don't know, we haven't spoken with the referee, but I would imagine it was a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. There was a Revolution attacker on the wide side, but it was still a long way away from the goal.
I mean, the handball occurred 30 yards from goal.
Yeah, we like common sense to prevail, but look, the referees have a job, and they're being told, you referee this game like a real game. And I get that.
So poorly.
It's not good. We have a perception, and the officials do a great job here. They're working hard to improve the product, but these kind of things give people the roll of the eye moment, and it wasn't a red. It wasn't a red.
No, and I had to say it, and it's the classic. It's preseason for everyone. I had to bring it out, but the referee, tough one for him today.
Who stood out? Let's talk about that in a bigger picture here with LAFC. So the first 11 that came out were the featured guys. We'll talk about the guys who didn't play, but we got to see Carlos, Brian Rodriguez, Chicho Arango, Jesus Murillo for a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
John McCarthy started. Maxime Crépeau was with Canada. You got a good idea. The midfield was a little bit more open.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the first 11, the passing was good. There was a couple nice chances that they weren't able to convert. I think Chicho had a really good one that hit the base of the post early on. I think what you saw from the front three is a good sign. But I think in the second half, where we brought a lot of the trialists, there's some guys. I know Alexis Villanueva,
yes,
who even took a ball off his face, was one I think that we both agreed was a guy who sees the opportunity.
He stood out. He played at left back. He's a guy that's come from the Sounders Academy, and he's actually played in an MLS game because the Sounders love to get their young kids in. I think they do it somewhat for publicity, but he's the goods. He looked good. He looked composed. He looked like a guy that is young but has played in an MLS game, and he showed it out there. And I think that's a spot that's not open for starting, but there needs to be some depth in there. So he could really maybe latch on with the team, having not been attached to LAFC at all prior to now. And the other guy that stood out for me was one of our guests from yesterday, Sebastian Ibeagha. I thought Sebastian Ibeagha, we talked about it after we talked to him. We go, man, doesn't he make you just feel comfortable because he seems so comfortable?
Yes.
And that's how I felt with him as a center back out there today.
It seems like he's moving up the charts just from the optics of ours, which are unofficial. But starting this game, having a nice game, seeing in practice where he just seems like he's everywhere. We talked about the dancing video, but she's just being a guy who looks comfortable now that he has a full year here in LA. I want to say something else about Villanueva. He was playing at the left back. He got up and down. Steve Cherunda looked pretty chill in the game, not standing a lot, talking a lot with his assistants. Very cool style. A couple of times he did stood up.
Ante was up more than Steve, I think.
Well, during that red card in particular. Yeah. He got over to Villanueva, and, Steve Cherunda, a fullback, stood there, gave him some indicators. It was pretty firm, but I was like, just to see that moment of coaching is good because it means you're being viewed here by the coaching staff. You want eyeballs, so Villanueva certainly had them.
Well, we love a coach because that's how this team was founded. Bob Bradley, although an older coach, said you still come in here and you still try to make guys better. There's a lot of older coaches, especially in Europe, where they're like, this is the way I play. You get in line. Either you get the result and you stay in the game, you stay in the match, or you don't. But I like having a guy that is willing to take the time to share some of his expertise, especially Steve, who's not too far removed from his playing days. There's a lot he can share about, especially that position, of course, but just sharing the little tips and tidbits and wanting to get everyone better. You understand that you make a team better by making the players better. You raise the floor, you can make the whole team better. It's not just about execution and results.
Danny Crisostomo stood out to me as well. It's good to see him back. He's trying to get onto the squad. There's nothing guaranteed right at this moment. Very organized, made his passes, consistent, hit those long, hit the short balls, a good glue midfielder guy. And we'll talk about the midfield because that's going to be, I think, my takeaway from all of this, but we'll talk about it in more detail. But otherwise, I don't think we can look too much into the cracks and see, all right, who stood out there. This felt very preseason-y.
It felt very
preseason-y across the board. The only one in mid-season form really is Vince and I.
Correct. Bingo. We take our game very seriously.
We don't mess around. We bring the goods right from the jump. We talk about the midfield. This is the talking point, I think. Kim Moon-Hwan.
Yeah, there's a big talking point.
A big talking point. Dead center in the midfield. He started to go a little bit further wide as the first half wore on, but he was a central midfielder. He was filling in between the gaps between the fullback and the center back. Got back behind them a couple times. But just the midfield in general, I would imagine missing the three starters that we were going to see to start the regular season. Opportunities for some guys.
Opportunities, interesting though, right? A lot of
people. This wasn't a wing back. I think people were thinking it wasn't.
Not at all.
It was a back four, three in the midfield, three in the attack.
When I first saw the lineup and I was just trying to put the pieces together, I thought it was a wing back because last season when Kim was not settling in well, people were trying to put him into different places because you see the talent, you see the speed, you see the willingness. but it just wasn't working out at fullback and sometimes not working out wingback. And people would ask me, what do you think about him in the midfield? I didn't like it per se because he's not necessarily super clean on the ball. He's not a passer into tight spaces. So I wasn't sure. He was in kind of the Latif role where he's quick, press guys, get the counter press going quickly. And like you said, at times you can run in behind from midfield. And he tried to get in. There was one where they almost found him to get in. He had another shot that was well saved. I thought that was interesting. So it's an interesting wrinkle for LAFC, something I don't know if they're going to stick with it or they were just trying to see what it was like. But to have another guy that can be a hard presser, a good dribbler, and some speed coming with that secondary run or that third man run is interesting.
Maybe more opportunity for him there because unofficially the starting midfield, we think, for the opener will be Acosta, Ilie, Sifu.
Yes.
So you
want to go strength, all strength.
You're going for strength. So let's say that's the starting trio. Who's the first guy off the bench? What can he do off the bench? Will he be a holding midfielder? Will he be a number 8? Could he play both positions? I get the feeling they're looking for some guys that can do it all to be that cover. Kim is a midfielder. He's not going to be in the contention role whatsoever. He's going to be going forward more in attacking prowess. But Pancho Ginella started that game. He's going to put his hand up back from injury. We'll talk more about that as well. Look, the midfield will have 5 guys rotating in there. Danny Crisostomo is going to put his hand up as well. We just don't know after the top 3 where it falls. Pancho's the guy I think would probably fit that role. He still wants to start. He's back from injury, and nothing's guaranteed. Latif is a guy I didn't play. You figure he pops in there as well.
He got back in late,
yes.
So he hasn't been in full training. That's why he didn't feature at all. He got put up on the big screen and got a nice cheer from everybody.
Absolutely. But how do you see the mid? I mean, this is important. Depth is important. We've seen it over the last 2 seasons. Injuries, international call-ups, everything occurs. And by speaking of international call-ups, very fortunate to have Brian. He wasn't with Uruguay, and you could see the consistency getting to play with LAFC. He knows he has to really seize this opportunity to get back into that camp, to get back in the eyeballs of some European clubs. The midfield in general is it's healthy, but we've seen the last 2 seasons, guys go down. You need guys that can fill in a pinch.
It's somewhat theoretical right now. Like we said, we think that the midfield is going to be Acosta, Sanchez, and Sifu because that seems to be the strongest. But they're trying stuff right now, as you should do in preseason. They know that those guys are going to be here eventually, so why not try some stuff? So this is possibly adding some depth, possibly some wrinkles, but we don't know. I mean, there's really not too much you can honestly take from this game and know for sure that this is what's going to happen in the season.
And that's why we can't look at Kim and say, or Moon and say, okay, he's going to be in that position. Right. This is the experimental ground. See if a guy's in there. But it did remind me a little bit initially when I saw him in that role of what Chiqui Palacios did at the end of the season. Yeah. Although Chiqui was a little further back. But seeing what these guys can do in different positions.
The shift of Latif Blessing to more of like the tip of the spear, the first guy to press. That's kind of where I think they saw him. It worked out a little bit here. It was interesting. We may never see it again. He might play right back the whole rest of the season after this.
You mentioned right back. So let's bring in Franco Escobar, who is the reason that
when you said let's bring in Franco Escobar, I was like, is he going to be here on set?
He's not.
My Spanish is horrible.
Vince said yesterday the guy he wanted to keep an eye on was Franco Escobar, and he certainly delivered. I love the fact he's a direct runner. Mm-hmm. The right back, immediately where you're seeing Moon goes there, I start to venture in my thoughts and say maybe that's how confident they feel that Franco Escobar is going to be a lockdown right back, big right back. He knew how to do it. He was communicating with guys across the way too. He feels like of all the newcomers already feels very comfortable here.
With any right back that plays for this team, the big question is going to be how does he blend in with Carlos Vela? How do they pair together? And like you said, I like seeing him make those runs, making those underlaps when Carlos is wide. He understands he can pinch in, but still get underneath, get behind the defense if he has to, or he provides an option. That's the first thing you kind of got to learn when you play for LAFC is how do you work with Carlos? And then he's a hard defender though. Yeah. Right. So like we don't have to teach him anything on that. We saw physical, some recovery runs, and just seeing a little bit of grit. I like that. So that's why he was someone to keep an eye on. And it was good but the timing's still not quite there, right? Even when Chicho was out there a little wide, there was a few times where they tried to slide that pass inside, maybe a little bit too far in front of Franco, maybe a little bit too far behind, but they were able to make some things work. And that's what preseason's for, is getting that timing.
I know they're having horrific weather all over the country right now, but it was jacket weather here at Bank of California. There's beautiful clouds.
There's like 2 feet of snow
Very
in Boston
pleasant.
right now, right?
2 feet of snow. But look, I lived out there. Stop complaining about it. Stop. You have growing up in Miami. You have no idea. The heat in the middle of summer is worse than 2 feet of snow. I guarantee you. But you don't hear us complaining about it.
Hot.
Then is your question.
Is that a hot take or a cold?
That's a hot take. Okay. It's a cold take. Send us your questions. We'll answer them. We'll put them in the folder.
Send
We'll
Max your questions about where to live. What's the best climate in the United States?
Yeah, let's stir the pot.
He's lived in a lot of places.
I have. Field looks good. Great atmosphere. Beautiful day in Los Angeles. And we look forward to all you guys joining us here. Many of you could not. So send your questions. Max and Vince here bringing you all. The 45 minutes, that was about as most comfortable thing you could take away to see Brian Rodriguez, Carlos Vela, Chicho Arango playing together.
What was interesting is they kind of took shifts in how
they switched a lot.
They've switched a lot, but they also took shifts in how who was more influential on the game. Chicho was early with that shot off the post. Brian then kind of picked it up a little bit, and then I feel like the last 20 minutes of that second half, Carlos Vela was like, just let me get on the ball.
Second half of the first half.
Second half of the first half. Just let me get on the ball. Let me find space wherever I can. And he really started to dictate play, and he was finding guys with through balls. The transition play of the front three was much better, and that's something that Steve Cardolo pointed out as something he wanted to get better. And I think most of their chances were created off transition from those three.
And they did get chances. And the ball movement, preseason ball movement, but still a little bit a tick above, I think, what you would expect. They were pinging that thing around a good amount. I love the different positions because the attempt that Chicho hit off the post, he was playing on the left side. We think of him as this traditional center forward. He's not.
No.
This guy can do a lot up there, and that could open up a world of possibilities because he got out there, and I think it threw a wrinkle in the defenders for New England because, wait, what's he doing there? Why is he not between the two center backs? He got out there. He's good with the ball on his feet, good dribbler. We know that Brian and Carlos can do well in wide spaces, but if all three are good in wide spaces.
And I might be reading into this because of what a lot of guys told us yesterday, but they kept bringing up defensive shape is important. It did seem like that front three did a lot of work defensively in trying to get their positioning right, trying to get back behind the ball, trying to keep it compact. That's why they weren't so expansive with their passing, and they played more in transition. I think they were really, really trying to work on that. Again, maybe I'm just reading into that because of what we were told, but from my eye, it looked like they were really trying to get behind the ball and keep a compact line between the midfield to the attackers and keep that defense really, really pressed up on the team because not a lot of pressing, but there was a lot of compactness of the team.
A couple set pieces. I thought Vela's delivery was good on that one corner early on, and then he had a free kick that was threatening.
Brian, decent corner.
That'll happen. But actually, when those three played together, it seemed like the symmetry was good enough. There wasn't flags.
I will take it. Actually,
it was good. It was good.
You look. You don't want to be going offside all game to where you don't create chances. But this is a team that I'm not sure who's the guy that's going to be running behind. So the more times guys are running behind and maybe being called offsides, it's a good thing. I want to see more of that. I want to see more runs behind, especially from a guy like Brian Rodriguez.
Two big moments here, as well as we saw two guys coming back from seismic injuries.
Yep, both injuries.
Pancho Ginella and Mahala. Mahala certainly, we're talking about a year.
Mahala was so excited to be on the field.
But he looked fast.
He looked fast. He's doing the
late getting the ball off his feet, but
that's what I was saying. He was so excited. He got on the ball. Was like,
I'm dribbling.
I'm gonna dribble. I want to see what I can do. It's good to see. I think the coaching staff will say, there's a few times you could have let the ball off your feet and spring guys along. That's what we want. We want through balls. We want runners ahead of you. But when he had the ball at his feet, tough to dispossess, quick feet, good on the ball. So it'll get there. It's exciting to see him after he'd been out for so long.
Mahala playing with the second half team, as was Mamadou Fall, who's a guy you project as a starter. But everything is up for grabs right now. Make no mistake here. So you're playing with a lot of new guys that have never played together. So that's a challenge in its way. We saw Mahala start a couple breaks, and it was our guests, Cal Jennings, Danny Masovsky from yesterday running in there as well. The third person, I have the lineup here, but they were all running in different
Christian
different
Torres.
channels. Christian Torres. It just wasn't there, but they would have a couple of these jailbreak runs, which was good.
The second half was a bit stretched.
Yeah.
It was the two teams just going strength for strength on the transition, on the counter. And it was fun to watch, but to your point, a lot of guys that haven't played with each other, timing not quite there, so that's why we still end here 1-1.
Pancho Ginella started with the first half team, and coming from his injury, and I saw him at training yesterday. How you doing? It was his birthday recently, so I said, "Felicidades, Pancho." I go, "How's it coming?" He goes, "I'm playing tomorrow." I was like, "Great." It's going to take a while for him to get back, but that's if he performs, which we saw sometime last season. We go back to that midfield discussion. That is a huge win for LAFC because he's a good passer, not the fastest midfielder, but if you can play him in the right position, he's very valuable. So if that's a big one for me, because I think the midfield depth will come into play this season more than once. So Pancho Ginella getting back
in a deeper role too, right? For so long, they kind of weren't sure, is he a 6, he's an 8, played a lot of 8. And like we said, maybe he's not the most athletic 8. And that's why I think a lot of us thought, well, why can't he play more as a 6? Because he is a decent passer. He's very clean on the pass. He likes to switch play really well. And that's what we saw today. A lot of him getting on the ball, turning his hips, switching play. I'd like to see more of that. But what's going to be curious is how he works when the game speeds up and when he finds himself in those areas where he's going to have to be 1v1 and snuff out an attack. How can he be physical, or how can he be smart in the way that he steps in front of passes or breaks down plays as they go the other way? That's going to be where they're going to see where he works out, because he's got a guy, Ilya Sanchez, who's very accomplished at that. So those two are going to fight it out for that spot.
You can only imagine what's going through these guys' heads that are coming back from these injuries. They get a chance to play a game, and for Mahala, over a year. Pancho, a little less than that, but a long time out, and you want to get after it. You could see it. They were pressing a bit. They wanted to get in the flow of the game. I'm sure the coaching staff, they want to bring it along as slowly as possible. First game in that kind of stretch, that's the only way to do it. So it's just it's a difficult situation to be in if you're those players.
Yeah, you want to go. It's like we asked Danny Masovsky. It's like, did you ever have times where your brain wants to go 100 miles an hour and your legs just topple over because they're not ready? And he said no, because they put in work.
Good question.
And I was like, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not a professional soccer player. That still happens to me. But I'm sure that with these injured guys, there's a little bit of that where they got to test out their body a little bit, right? Especially Mahala. That was a tough injury. Like you said, had surgery out for the year.
The LAFC Academy, no current players from the LAFC Academy coming in here, but the guys that started with the Academy, Eric Dueñas still getting back from his injury. Christian Torres, Tony Leone came out to start the second half. Christian Torres, we know it's hard to put the pressure on a kid that young, but after getting into the system, he is ready to get in and be a feature. Maybe a guy who finds his name in that pecking order of the midfield. Remember, Tony Leone and Torres did play for the Mexico under-20 team successfully a couple months ago, and they're getting those games. They're in the eyeballs of their national team there with Mexico. Still a possibility they could play for the U.S. When I looked at Tony Leone at his age, he's a man.
Oh, yeah.
He would not get taken off the ball. He blocked a couple of attempted shots. If we go back, I wanted to save the conversation for Leone now. He would have been one of my bright spots right at the top of that list just because he looks the part, and he looked like an experienced head.
Yeah, some smart center back plays, right? Where he backed up his fullback. He backed up even his goalkeeper. Those are plays that you can't really teach guys on. They just kind of have to figure it out and kind of just make it happen in the moment. So that was cool to see. And like you said, dude's been lifting, huh?
Yeah,
like, he's looking big.
Stocky, strong.
He's looking big. Christian Torres was interesting because we know him as a winger. Play a little bit in midfield. Again, first preseason game, so we're not sure if that's what they see him as long term. But he was playing more as an 8 or even an 8-10-ish, more of as a creative player in the midfield. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch going forward as well.
With Torres, it's the same thing we talked about a lot of players. So I think we expect to see it. Keeping that ball on your feet a little too long as these guys are making runs in front of you. That'll come around.
It's the speed of play. It's the last thing to come in preseason.
So that's good. I mean, we've seen so many clubs who have obviously been around with their academies a lot longer than LAFC churn out these young players. This is the beginning of LAFC. It is going to happen. The dots are connected through every level of academy play, heading to Las Vegas Lights, heading into the first team. It is all set. It takes a while to get that going, but now LAFC can have it. The fruit will be coming off the trees here very soon. But Leone and Torres, and remember what you see in a lot of these other academies, if they don't play for LAFC, there are teams out there that are looking for a good young talent. That's what happened with FC Dallas. That's what's happened to all these other academies. And these young, like, let's take Justin Che. He never really played for the FC Dallas first team, but now he's on his way to Hoffenheim.
Yeah, not bad, right?
No, not bad at all.
Not a bad bit of business. And LAFC,
same with Weston McKennie when he was there.
And LAFC has made no bones about it. They want to be in that ecosystem as well. So sometimes if guys, look, we would all love to get that kid that grew up here in LA and he wants to play in front of here. And I know there's a lot of kids that do, but if we can also move them on to Europe, that's another pathway that we can create. It's big time. It means something.
And those two kids are LA born and bred. And that's, obviously something we always want to work on, the identity, as Vince said, for this club.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We haven't. I didn't think we'd have this many talking points. Our producer, Jason, goes, send us your talking points. And then we said like 50. He goes, I'm going to have to consolidate this. I go, well, careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah. Well,
you asked tip of the iceberg.
You asked us to talk, and this is what you get.
Yeah, and then we had some fun ones like best power trio, and you said Motorhead.
Motorhead, best power trio. Hit us with your best power.
Ask for questions with your best power trio. I said Genesis too. I think there are more than thumbs down from Carapesi.
Yeah. I think Police was a good shout.
Police was a good shout. We're getting
Yeah.
thumbs down everywhere, man. We have a really
tough crowd in our crew when it comes to music.
They're a very eclectic bunch. Players not with LAFC today, and the names you see there are all starters. I would put Latif there as well, but just coming back, a guy who was a starter as well. That's all right. I mean, he's not. I don't think you can put him in as a starter. Ilie Sanchez was here, didn't play. We don't know why. Maybe just bringing him on a little slower. Maxime Crépeau, Kellen Acosta with the national teams, as well as Sifu and Chiki, and that'll be continued. But all those 5, Blessing as well. But those first 5 are in the starting 11 week 1.
Well, think about this. It's a bummer that they weren't here, but the fact that you played a preseason game and did pretty well, and those guys are coming back, these are all good signs. Like, they did a lot of good business over this break, and we're yet to see everybody that's come in, that the work that John Thornton did. That's really exciting. I
will also say, as we're in a World Cup year, Acosta, Crépeau, Chiki, and Sifu, Ecuador got a great result against Brazil.
All knocking on the door.
All 4 of those guys will be going to Qatar, it would appear, at this point. That's great for the club, and that feeds into the excitement after the season when we lift MLS Cup here and say goodbye to those guys as they head over to the Middle East to represent their countries. Ilie Sanchez was a guy I wanted to keep an eye on. I was a little frustrated we didn't get to see him because it's such an elegant midfielder, but it gave that opportunity for Pancho. It gave that opportunity for Danny Crisostomo. Nothing's wasted here in a preseason. It's like a nice chicken dinner. You get it all off the bone.
And he'll be there in the end. And you and I have gotten to be out at training, and we've seen Ilie kind of really run the midfield and run training. It seems, like you said, like he's been here for like the last 2 or 3 years. He just has fit in so seamlessly. Maybe that's why we were more surprised, because he does seem like he's fit in so quickly. Sometimes they hold guys back because they're like, let's just get you some more training time. So we don't know anything about the reason why that was. But hopefully it's just a coach's decision. But we've been seeing him out there, and we feel like he's going to get in here in one of these preseason games and really show what he can do.
John McCarthy, one of the new signings as well, played the first half in goal for holding the job for when Crépeau gets back, who by the sounds of it, we have to call him Max. It says Maxime. We have 5 Maxes who work for LAFC. I've never experienced that in my life. Now we have a 6th Max, and I want to encourage him to call Maxime. I call myself Maximiliano, so we don't have these awkward things in our Golasso meetings where they go Max, and I go.
You are the only one that thinks it's awkward.
It's too many Maxes. I used to be the only Max. It was a dog's name, but now everyone loves the name for their kids. It was a dog's name, short and sweet. You call your dog that. Dogs aren't as smart as humans. Facts. And shorter names are easier. You don't call them Poindexter. You call them Max or Fido, something like that. Thomas Romero.
When was the last time someone called their dog Fido?
Yeah, it's kind of dated, huh?
Yeah.
Or their daughter Pearl. That's another outdated name.
How did you get from dog to daughter?
Pearl. It's a name you don't hear anymore.
Max is in preseason form too.
I am in preseason form.
Just free association, Max.
Going back to the red card to Jesus Murillo, the silver lining for it is McCarthy in goal. Didn't see much activity. But in that short span where they were playing with 10, he did.
Yes.
Made a couple good saves. By the way, the book's
he made a good save on what led to the goal.
He made a save. So it was good. So that's an opportunity to be the number 1. It's a nice feeling there for John McCarthy and getting some action. When they were 11 versus 11, they weren't giving those gilt-edged chances. When they're 10 players, they did.
Yeah. We're talking about what still needs work, though.
Yeah.
What still needs work, I think, is the timing, the speed and the timing. I think, like I said, we saw a lot of them trying to get into position, trying to keep compact, trying to keep their shape, not getting stretched out too much, but not a lot of speed.
Yeah, that goes without saying. You can't be at that speed. You could notice it here. It was LAFC in second gear.
Yeah. And then, of course, the finishing. As always, that old trope comes back. But I think we'll be much better than we were last season. Obviously, none of these goals in preseason are going to count towards anything anyways, but we would like to see some finishing. You'd love a 4-1 preseason type game, something like that.
Yeah, just to me is the pace of play which stood out, which is 1,000% to be expected. Second preseason game.
I just noticed that this is very unprofessional.
Oh.
Everyone's in preseason form.
You're full on denim Dan.
Everyone's in preseason form.
That's what you do, man. You keep it in your pocket.
Well, you have an actual credential. LAFC, can I get a real credential instead of these sticker ones, please?
To further emphasize how I'm in preseason form, I left my credential in another jacket at home, so I had to get a temporary one.
It's not my jacket, man.
I hope it's in that jacket, or I got some problems. The last thing the PR department wants to hear from me is, can I get another credential? That is the worst that you can say.
How many have you lost?
2018, I lost one, and 2019, I lost one.
Hey, those were both good years for LAFC, so maybe you should.
Yes.
Maybe you should be losing your.
That's lost.
All right,
awesome. I'm getting a new
that was
one.
pretty good. I think we should do some questions.
Let's do some questions. Just one quick thing about the pace of play. It'll improve next Wednesday. Toronto FC in Irvine, and then we have the 2 games in Indio, which is
still unsure whether those will be streamed or not, or if we'll be out there. But we want to try to be out there to do these post games. So
yeah,
Irvine, we think that's closed door, and did you go to the Irvine one a couple years ago?
I did not.
So they literally will just play like in the middle of the bunch of fields there. It's very weird. Like if you're just walking through UC Irvine's campus and happen upon 2 professional teams playing a game, that's what it looks like. It's very odd. There's not a stadium there.
Great university, UC Irvine here in the Great
Anteaters.
The Anteaters got you can study surfing there.
Can you?
You can master in surfing at UCI.
That sounds like a Pepperdine thing.
We want to bring the entire Southern California all together on this, but this is going to keep going and it's spread out. I mean, these are games that are going to head up with the season. Doesn't start almost on 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks.
I mean, those 3 weeks will go fast.
They'll go by fast. So there you go. You're all set to go. It'll be improvement. We're going to get some questions.
Let's go. Which trial is
J33 Sizzle, Villanueva.
I'm going to go with Villanueva too. He looked.
Bruce El Mesmari did come in for a short amount of time and made the most of it. Won the penalty. Tried to ask if he could take the penalty.
I know, and it looked like he was just going to give it straight to Mamadou. Respect your elders. Mamadou was like a year older than him, maybe.
Respect your elders. Mamadou wanted to score. He got it in there. The goalie guessed correctly on the penalty.
He did, but enough power and right placement.
Wonderful work by the LAFC 3252. Obviously, it wasn't completely full, but the fans there, they
kept filling in.
It is, and I just want to remind you, this is a full-time job. I mean, when you go in there, you don't. There's no half measures.
Mm-hmm.
You're a full-time fan. You beat that drum the entire game. You do everything that's required, and if you don't, someone else will do it for you. It's very serious business, and with less people, they were very raucous, and they created the tempo and the cadence.
I just love if you don't, someone else will.
Someone else will. It's a fact. That's every walk
I'm the guy that does my job. You must be the other guy.
Vince LaRosa has a couple bad takes. He's out. That's it. Simple. I'll get Rogandino on the phone.
Oh,
this is Rogandino Plaza. We're doing this from.
We are in hollowed Rogandino ground.
So Alexis Villanueva, because he's a left back. That's his position. That's the other position he's going to play. Although we saw that with Kim moving around, but the ball off the face too was a nice touch. But he was certainly there. I want to give the guys their due that we all saw here.
You're going to read off the whole.
I want to. Frank DeRomo, who's not a trialist, played with Las Vegas. Almaguer came in there. Alvaro Quesada played. I think that's it. That's it. Almaguer. I said that one. All right. That's it. That was a short list. So thank you, J33 Sizzle. That's the short answer there.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't. It's the first preseason game. It's hard. It's really
hard for these guys.
It's hard, but he had some connections at left back. He looked good going forward, looked good coming back. So that was a guy that really stood out because in all levels and all facets of playing as a left back, he looked good.
And LAFC puts their arm around these guys. I mean, they try to put them. Oh, Danny Trejo came in and had a couple good moments as well.
Mm-hmm.
So LAFC puts their arm around these guys. They tell them, they coach them. Mm-hmm. They don't put them on an island and say, you're here to make up the numbers. They give them an opportunity to succeed. This is a tough business. Not many do. But LAFC, I know, are always explicit on putting these guys on the right path. If it's here at LAFC or if it's for somewhere else. Gomez Jr., do you guys see Vela at 100% or still working up to it?
I mean, everyone's still working up to fitness.
Yeah,
right?
But let's think about it from an injury perspective where he was coming back. He was flowing.
He did Vela things. Had a ball that he shot through midfield off the side of his left foot that fell perfectly to Franco Escobar. Like I said, that the back half of the first half, he was starting to feel it and he was cruising around, getting on the ball. There's not many players that are able to pick up the ball on the sideline like Carlos Vela does, hold on to the ball and just make their way through the center of the field. It's a very Messi-esque skill. And it's something that he does that it's a unique skill, and he was starting to do a lot more of that. So that makes me feel like he's feeling good. He's feeling fit. But again, he's still got to work up to 90-minute match fitness.
How nice is the plates there for Gomez Jr.?
I know. That's a great YouTube
bruising and
photo.
That is good. Black and gold, too. That's a good question. I will say this, Gomez. I think by the end of the fourth preseason, Carlos Vela, avoiding, knock on wood, any entanglements, will be 100%.
Yes.
He will be 100%. He doesn't look chubby, none of that. He looks fit.
Max said not me. Max said not me.
He was in good shape.
All right, let's take another question before Max gets himself in trouble.
Preseason. It's preseason. You're allowed to come
Here's
in.
from Adrian, which is another great photo with Latif. Does Mahala start next game? Because I would really want to see him play as in CCL in the beginning of last season. I really enjoyed it.
I think he's a part of that LAFC inner circle. He should be. They don't have that kind of, with Diego Rossi gone, they don't have those guys that can do deadline run with pace.
Now that we're talking about it, we did miss one name. Ismail Tashori Shroudy.
Yes, right. That is
so it's going to be between.
That's me. That's on me.
It's going to be him and Mahala are going to be fighting out for that first attacker off the bench. But Mahala showed some things. I don't think he starts because they're going to want to really weave in that front three of Carlos, Chicho, and Brian. You want them firing on all cylinders. You want to come out the gates hot because, as LAFC saw last season, when they kind of sputtered, it was hard to really get their footing. But I think Mahala will get a lot of work, and they'll assess him as a guy's, like I said, like I believe they like to call him Izzy, Ismail Tashori Shroudy. He will be one of the first guys off the bench because he tries stuff and he dribbles at guys, right? And when guys are tired, you want to dribble straight, direct at them, direct play. That's the way to get it, guys. Create something, create fouls, get set pieces. He's going to be good for that.
You know the players watch our stuff, and we know for a fact they do. And Izzy's not going to be pleased with us.
Yeah. Well, maybe he doesn't.
We've had some grudges with people go, wait a minute. They listen.
Maybe he's not watching because he doesn't know us yet.
I'm probably in trouble with Carlos too, but after that.
I think he should be.
Mahala's the goods. Mahala's there, and he's going to grow.
Oh, and speaking of,
with
a question about
Shroudy. I don't know how to spell his name. You did great. Well, close enough. Spell his name, but with him up top or in a cam position, does Chicho's performance increase from last season? Again, I think this is Tashori Shroudy is going to be a deadline runner, and we don't have that. So
he's going to
need someone to stretch and disassemble a back line or a midfield so you can create some space.
He's going to stretch, and the one thing that he does that will really help Chicho is he's a great presser. Anytime you get Izzy winning the ball 30 yards from goal, and then he can get it immediately to Chicho, who's probably going to be 1v1 or even breaking away on the keeper, yes, that's going to help him.
A cam position in general, central attacking midfielder, is that something that we'll see at LAFC? I mean, that
we haven't in a while.
Spots.
We haven't in a while.
People have asked for it. I don't know if it worked. And listen, there's a new coach. It could be a different wrinkle in the way the 11 looks. Although it looked very familiar.
With the way LAFC counter presses, they prefer to have 2 8s that can really clamp down on that counter press, play from the half spaces. You're going to get guys into that area, but basically the kind of modern game has gone towards keeping that area clean so that when you play through the half spaces, then you get a guy arriving there, and that's how you can really put teams under pressure.
Great questions, by the way. Great questions and thought-provoking as well. Isn't it great to be affiliated with the club and say, this is our style, this is our identity?
It makes our job a little bit easier.
So with the coaching change, and we were wondering how it's going to look, it feels familiar. It feels right. And this is a foundation stone for the club. We play attacking football, lack of a better word, Showtime, Los Angeles. That's what LAFC is all about. It's nice on the eyes for neutrals who don't have a dog in the fight. They have an LAFC team that they enjoy watching.
Yeah.
And that's what people do. When LAFC is on national TV, people will tune in because it's a nice watch.
But to reiterate, a style play is not a formation.
Yeah.
Steve came in here and said, look, formations are not as important. It's the roles that you play. It's the style. It's the game model. So that's what's familiar. Look, this very well could change to where you play with a number 10 if it fits the roles that Steve wants to play and the way he wants to play. So don't get too bogged down.
Keep that in mind, right? If there's a style, but it's not
a formation.
How it looks. It's like they're gonna press, they're gonna attack, they're gonna do. So we have another question. Thickety wickets. Is that a cricket term?
I don't know.
How's that?
You would know better than I would. You love cricket.
Yes, I do. Check out my Instagram. I put his cricket highlight where this guy hit the ball. It goes over this barrier, and there's a fan. He catches it, and he saw it last second, and he throws the ball back. He's smoking a cigarette, and he sits back like he's the coolest guy in the building. Check it out. Max Bredos.
Sorry, I'm just looking off the side because Jordan Harvey's over there hanging out.
Jordan Harvey. Well,
I think he's trying to get in on camera here. We're going to have to readjust.
Okay, thickety wickets, your assessment of Leone, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
All good for me.
I don't think
bad because he's a bad man.
He's a tough guy. I don't think there was any ugly. Like I said, it was interesting to see him make some plays where, like, you don't teach them to get behind the keeper and sweep off the line or to back up a teammate. So that was interesting. He's learning. Hey, Jordan Harvey.
No, there's. What do you just come in and sing a song?
I guess so. I don't know how to. Yeah.
Jordan Harvey, were you on the bench during the game?
Yes, I was helping out.
What was that like?
It was nice. It was nice. I'm not going into the game, so
Yeah, like explain why
So,
you were on the bench doing.
Well, we saw
something
you in the
different.
staff game yesterday. You looked like you still
I saw you make.
still got
I
that
saw
competitive
I saw
spirit.
you make somebody out there.
the staff game's difficult because you don't know whether to give 70, 80, 90, 100%. It's different. Everybody has a different level in that game, so it's tough to
I played
gauge.
one staff game, and I have never had any dental work, and now I have because of that staff game. Because Odenheimer knocked a ball into my teeth, and it chipped the bottom.
Odenheimer's the suspect number one, our analyst. Yes, he's giving me
Odenheimer.
the
He's late in
call.
the. He's
Another
late in the
Max,
challenge.
by the way. Another Max.
Yeah, another Max. Max is.
Yeah.
I'm upset. There's too many Maxes here. I'm getting confused with all these Maxes. Our goalkeeper Max, and
Well,
I like to be the only Max sometimes. I can do it too, but 6 is a lot.
No, it's okay. Max is a great guy, and it's just been fun to work with this staff now with Steve Cherndl at the helm.
Mhm.
It's been great. They've given me a lot of opportunity to mix in and help out, and ultimately I want to help develop these young players and some of the guys from the first team. So stepping in preseason and really getting involved has been great.
Give us an idea of what the vibe was. What's the message after this game from Steve to the team?
This is our first game.
Mhm.
It's preseason. We wanted to see a competitive edge. We wanted to see a work rate that I think you did. Everybody got a good amount of minutes under their belt. Everyone came out healthy. Danny Masovsky, a little bit of a knock there as the only one. But you saw some good play. I thought everybody was pleased with the first half. Second half, you saw a lot of new faces. It's going to be a learning curve for all those guys. So all in all, it was a positive message. It was really great. And, you saw Carlos with Chicho, with Brian.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often.
Yeah.
That's going to
was really
change.
great to
That's going to
see.
change.
And my favorite player, Franco Escobar,
Yeah. Okay.
This
Talk more about
guy
Franco. He's.
is
I
a
feel like out of
warrior.
Yep. You know about fullback
He
play.
is a warrior, and every second ball, the little bit of extra effort, this guy's working forward, working back. He's going to be my favorite signing of the offseason.
Who stood out? I mean, you mentioned you're helping with a lot of the guys who are trialing, a lot of the younger players. So you obviously had a hand in that second half. Just specifically with that second half, when you look at those younger players, who do you put a smile on your face and said, "All right, he's moving along, he's progressing."
I really like Frank. He's somebody out there.
Frank DeRoma.
Frank
yes,
DeRoma.
Yep.
As a 6, I've always loved working with Cal Jennings, and a lot of the guys from the first team, because we do have a lot of guys missing right now. A Marco Farfan, I love working with, and he's showing a lot of promise, and he's still very young in his development.
Mhm.
And you see a Fall who's still that raw talent that is learning a lot on the fly. And then new guys that you might not notice that came in on trial.
We thought Alex Villanueva.
a
is
kid,
the left
Alex
back.
Yeah,
Villanueva.
good position. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he came in and showed some promise. He's got a lot of talent. But again, the nuances of an LAFC style take a lot of time to learn, to make them a not a conscious decision, but more reactive is a huge thing. And so there's a lot of work to be done. But for a first preseason game, I thought there was a lot of promise against a team in New England that has a game in 3 weeks. And this is the majority of their starters as well. Only missing Leggett to national team camp. But, they're probably ahead of us by a couple weeks in preseason.
This guy's pretty good at this, and he covered stuff that we slipped through our cracks here.
I knew.
Making us look
I knew.
bad,
I knew
Harvey.
he was coming. I left some meat on the bone.
Oh,
That's
thank
pretty
you.
good.
Thank you.
We had a question about Tony Leone's performance, and he impressed me as well, just because he clearly put in the physical work. He wasn't taking off the ball. Just a firm, good-looking center back, growing into his body.
Yeah, 100%. Tony is one that has come into preseason and really impressed. He's been with the group from the first team since he, even before he signed, when he was with the academy. So he's known this system. He's known how LAFC wants to play defensively. Some of the same principles I carried over. And so he comes into preseason with a lot of knowledge and stuff that he can actually even help a guy like Fall with.
That's interesting.
in sliding and shifting and decision making, which is where he's making all the right decisions. There's some stuff that, obviously Tony could work on, some of the passes out of the back and decisions when you're stepping or dropping. But Tony is coming to preseason and really impressed.
If you have a question for Jordan, get him in now while we are still up here.
He's not going to be here forever. I want to bring you real quick back to Franco Escobar, your new favorite player. Because one thing I brought up with him,
he's all smitten.
No,
I'm glowing. I love this guy.
Well, yesterday we said we really wanted to see him. We were something he really interested in because of the way he's come in here and the world himself and carried himself with the guys. But I said to Mexico's first thing, he goes, well, what stands out to you? I go, he's got to get that partnership with Carlos. That's the first. Right back's got to defend. But a lot of what you do out there is how you're inside when Carlos is outside, how you're outside when Carlos is inside. When you make that run, when you release, how did you feel? It takes time. Those partnerships takes time. Everyone kind of takes that time. How did you feel like he kind of stepped into that?
He's a smart player, and he's played with top players in Atlanta and Boca. So like he's played with players like a Carlitos, and like I said, his work rate, his unselfishness in wanting to make the players around him better, and the extra effort that goes into winning the ball in midfield, that then we get a chance inside the box. Those are things that have been lacking, and he brings to the table. It's all these intangibles that the average person may not notice, but they go a hell of a long way.
Steve Trundle on the sideline. I mean, he's seated a lot. He came up a couple times. So how do you see his mannerisms and him becoming
why
this
do we see you jump
coach?
off the bench to
Me to jump off?
Because
Bob,
Bob's on there and he's got his hand on the hips. He's like,
yeah, no
running,
one
like,
gets up
talking
because
to-
Bob is in place. There's no reason to get up because Bob's there.
I mean, there's
Steve was letting-
footprints from Bob still there from that time.
No, he's great. And again, for me in particular, I'm still finding my voice in this whole thing, post-career. But with Steve, he's just a great guy, and that's what comes across most. And he knows the game inside and out. And so I think he will be very helpful for some of these young guys in their development. You've seen it already with Las Vegas, and you'll see it now with the first team.
He always says hello to us when we're there. Steve, he comes up and says, Bob does too. Listen, Bob, when he would come, when I lost my grandmother there, Bob knows these things. He came up and he said, sorry about your loss, those kind of things. Those are coaches' things. They have to know about everyone. They build relationships. So it's a big job.
I think it's inevitable that you're going to start comparing them. But
Of course.
I think given the differences, I think Steve is going to obviously create his own identity apart from, what has been here in the past, but still giving that foundation and the principles, you're going to see something similar.
Yep. You've been great to join us. We honestly did not know you were coming. We asked to try to get you, but we knew you were going to be on the bench.
We texted last night. We got it.
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't on that text. I thought we had a little group chat going. A couple more questions
I know,
though,
sure.
real quick with you. Talking about
It's more efficient this way.
talking about a fullback. Thoughts on Kim Moon-Wan playing as more of an 8 today?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Did it work? I mean,
I liked it. He is someone that is obviously very technical. He's got an engine. He's intelligent. All things that really help in that position. You didn't see him lose the ball. You saw him be able to facilitate it in the right spaces, the right timing. You even saw some interchanging. We talk about Moon's relationship with Carlos. You saw that as an 8 in Carlos, him coming out
running behind,
and then Carlitos coming into the pocket. So those are things that create fluidity. It disrupts the defense, and you saw Moon's work rate coming back, even positioning. He hasn't played there in a very long time. I talked to him about it. He said midfield, maybe high school, and so him coming in and even the positioning and the willingness to get in the right spots defensively are huge.
Is that a role that we're used to kind of seeing Latif in? Is that where he kind of played for you guys in 2019 as that kind of 8, but a little bit, right, the first guy to counter press, the guy, because the speed and, like you said, the technical ability?
He's completely different than a Latif.
I mean, nobody's Latif. Latif is Latif. We know that.
Yeah, so it's hard to compare those. But in terms of an 8, yeah, there's definitely some similarities. And Moon just brings something a little bit different, but he can do the role, I think, all the same.
We didn't mention him as a possible World Cup player, and although he hasn't been called up the last couple of times, he started for South Korea. So
he's still in the player pool, yeah.
He's still in the player pool. He could be another guy going there, and I think it's a case of he's a talented guy. You got to find a spot. You got to find minutes for him because he's a unique He's a unique player. He's a guy who can do a unique skill set that he can bring to the club.
What did you guys think of him as an 8?
We just were trying to grasp the idea. Right? Wait, I go,
Yeah.
was he here? And then it took us 20 minutes to figure out. Okay, he's in a central role.
For me, it's
So it was
just
kind of
interesting
it was a fun thing to kind of digest when we were up there.
Yeah, for as technical as he is, passing maybe is not necessarily his strongest point. So when you think of the LAFC, the great LAFC midfields, where like anyone can end up as a 6 at any point, I don't think we're going to see him much getting into that part of the field. And I don't even know if within Steve's model, if that's something that he really wants to see. But like you said with Carlos, the ability for an 8 to run out of midfield and be the guy that's all of a sudden stretching the defense, we haven't seen that from LAFC in a long time.
Yeah, you're right. There are moments, though, that you did see him slide into a 6 when Pancho maybe moved wide or Crisostomo was out wide as well. So he has the ability to acknowledge that hole needs to be filled, which I thought was huge and something that came really natural to him, as you saw over the first 45 minutes. So it's interesting. I think it's awesome. I think he definitely has the ability to do it. You know, whether he does that during the season or not.
But it's an LAFC thing, right? To find guys that, like, we want soccer players and we want guys that fit the game model, positions and formations, which before you came on, we were talking about it. Like, style of play is not a formation. So the ability to do this in preseason is, I mean, I wouldn't say it's uniquely LAFC, but it's not a thing that we really see a lot in MLS.
No, but this is why preseason's so great, is that, you know, given your numbers, given the players that are available to you, you see guys pick up these different positions and you go, oh my God, maybe we found something. Maybe we're onto something here and something you can carry throughout the rest of the season. So maybe it's a gem that we uncovered.
Yes. Final question, I think, right? James, we have a final question? Okay. We saw the front 3 play and they moved in different positions. Can you give us a little background on how much freedom they have, where Chicho was in the center, then he moved to the left, Brian and Carlos switched a couple of times. How does that happen in a flow of a game, those decisions?
It's based on turnovers. It's based on pressing in the right moments, where a player is. I think you saw some fluidity. Especially with Chicho going out wide. I think ultimately
he looks good out there.
I think
wide.
ultimately you want him
of course.
in the center and you want Carlitos out wide coming in on his left. But given it's preseason, we're still working out these things. Like I said, how often have you seen Chicho, Carlos, and Brian Rodriguez on the field? Not very often. And so it's still something that they're working out. But again, not just Carlos in the middle. It's Carlos coming inside. Amun was going out wide. The fluidity, I think, is great.
Even just all of last season, the only one we saw with regularity in that front 3 was Chicho.
Yeah.
Brian's interrupted season, Carlos obviously injured. So that really is the headline we take away from this. That front 3, that is on the marquee after this first preseason game.
Not Fall coming up from the back and grabbing the ball and going, this is my penalty.
Wait,
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I told you.
No. You said that
Bruce wanted to take it, right? He was trying to take it.
Well, there's a few people stepping up.
Yeah. Bruce had the ball in his hand, but it did not look.
He got fouled.
But he didn't look
He
adamant.
wanted to take it, though.
When Mamadou walked up, he looked a bit sheepish, like, yeah, okay, here you go. I don't think he was going to fight him for it.
But I don't mind that, right? Given, what happened in the first half, he was like, you know what? I want to make amends. Let's get up here. Let's score.
Who should have taken that penalty based on the players on the field? If you inspect that 11,
I mean, come on, it's whoever wants it the most.
Yeah.
And obviously, Fall.
It was that decision. He's like, give me the ball, and he converted it.
Well, he was in a bad mood until he did that.
Yeah,
So
I like it.
You could tell, because like you said, he made a mistake, and he was going at the ref. He was in a very bad mood. You could tell.
Red cards in preseasons.
Yeah, how weird was that?
Did you have to look over to Bruce and say, hey, can we get an 11th? And he goes,
so those
are
the things that are worked out before the game.
Side
if
deals.
There is some sort of a red card that gets smoothed over, because ultimately you don't want it to be a thing where it's lopsided. You want everybody to get a run. So yeah, that got worked out pretty seamlessly, I thought.
Yeah, we don't want to see violent red cards, but when you see one like that, you're like, come on. Because it kind of throws up your guys' timing, right? You guys have kind of timing plans for all these guys when guys are coming in and out. And now Murray has to walk off the field, and it's like, thanks, that was 25 minutes. Great.
Yeah, and Gavin with sports science does a great job, sports performance, and you saw Murray even after that had happened, he got his running in. Don't worry, Gavin didn't let him slip just because he came off early.
We got to get on that plan.
We got to get on that plan. We're here at the stadium. I know a lot of you listening, and thanks for the great questions you want to hear. We're keeping it ready for you. It's going to be very busy. You got System of a Down. System of the Down going to perform next week.
Oh,
is that
this
Elon
is a question
Musk?
for Jordan? It does look like Elon Musk.
Where to get
tacos after the game?
So I'm in Long Beach now, and they're opening up a place called South of Nick's. and it is now slowly surpassing Javier's for my favorite Mexican food in Southern California.
Ooh.
And it's coming up down the street. So yes, they're
South of Nick's.
I can
South
smell
of
the
Nick's.
cilantro
Is
and
that an
onions from
ode to
here.
Nick's on Second?
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I believe
There you
it's
go.
the same owners.
Nick's.
The good thing-
Nick's one of the best places to get a breakfast burrito.
There you go.
There you
I
go.
just the ones that pop up on the side of the streets are not really a restaurant name, but you always get a good taco.
Oh, of
there. When they
course.
have the trompo, the al pastor, and you go there, that's one of the great things about
If
living
there's a
in LA.
truck set
Try a
up
lot of
and
places,
they take the time to set up the stools for you to eat there, you
and they
gotta
have like
stop.
all
Gotta
the
stop.
fixins. You gotta stop.
Gotta stop.
And if they have churros as well as something to wash it all down with,
This has been Food
Well,
Talk with Max
Food
and
Talk.
Vince and Jordan.
Okay, so
I'm
you-
hungry
you-
now.
you
Thanks a
said-
lot.
you
Thanks a
said-
lot,
you
Soccer
said
USA.
churro correctly.
Churro.
I say it like you know,
Like
me
two white
growing
guys
up,
like we are,
yeah, like two guys.
Churro.
Churro.
I say it. And I said this to Carlos the other day.
Oh,
And
man.
I go, yeah, I
They tear you
love
apart?
churros. He's like, what? I'm like, churros. Churros. What? I'm like, like the sugar. He's like, churros. That was the most I've ever felt
Start-
like,
Start overpronouncing everything so you can go, hey, you're going to watch that game, the Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. And you
There
can
you
do
go.
that.
Like John
That was an
Seinfeld.
old
Cross.
Just do it. We want to thank Jordan for joining us. We see a lot more of this beautiful face here and this incredible analysis. And of course, Vince, the one and only. Subscribe to the channel.
I thought you pointed at the wrong side at first.
No, I'm very well accompanied. I don't underestimate that at all because these are some good peeps. Thickety wickets. I'm looking forward to Max's Yelp review. I will. I'll hand out a Yelp review. I always go on the very generous side. So we'll continue to be here, and
Jason
we're going to
just told
cover
you to
this.
wrap it up. So wrap it up.
He said he flashed 10 fingers, which means I have 10 seconds still. We'll see you soon. We'll get ready for the second preseason game on Wednesday, and we'll get ready for the season opener just around the corner. See you from Bank of California Stadium.